lay a beat for me, Jake. Throw down a beat. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles. Along with me, as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, and gunner, Jacob Cloth. How are you doing today, Jacob?
Was I supposed to keep the beat going through the thing, or no?
You didn't have to, but if you had, I might have attempted to rap it.
Oh. Well, I wish I did now in hindsight.
Yeah.
That's good.
Today at the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast, we are going to be doing what we always do at the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast, which is
say that one more time. Wait, what's our name, Charlie? I feel like you haven't said it enough.
At the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast, we pitch Very Reasonable Pilots.
Oh my god.
In podcast format. Like TV shows. We pitch TV shows. So this week, we're going to be pitching a new TV show, as we do every week.
I think you got the idea. So, if they stuck around for this, 30 seconds that you said the name 8 times, I think, they probably were going to stay anyway, so.
Yeah.
So what do you got this week?
What? It's not my turn.
Yeah, it is. What you got?
Oh, I pitched last week.
Oh, you're getting really defensive here. I thought you'd play along with me, but you didn't.
Because it got sprung on me last week.
He's scared. That's why he's defensive, because he's scared that it actually was his turn.
It was. There was definitely a hint of that for sure. Like, wait, was there?
Did you have anything ready? If you had to pitch?
I would have probably done.
Just give us a title of what you would have pitched if it was your turn.
DC's The Question.
Oh, that's more revealing than I thought. So it's a question show. Well, the only real question in this podcast is, what am I pitching? Because it's not your turn, Charles. It's my turn.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit. I wrote this today, a half an hour ago. Let's go. I couldn't sleep last night because I was like, I have to write a pitch in the morning because I didn't write it at night. And I kept thinking I'll just do it tomorrow morning. But, my mind was racing trying to think of what I had to do.
Yeah.
And the reason I wasted my time this week and couldn't pitch was because I was playing fucking Elden Ring. And my job. But, Elden Ring's the real problem. So this pitch is very inspired from a conversation I had with a friend while I was playing Elden Ring. Because we're playing that game. Very difficult fighting
action
game,
RPG.
open worlds, RPG, monster fighting game, right?
All I know about Elden Ring, there's the little hand guys. Have you seen the hand guys?
Those guys are disgusting.
Yeah, I saw.
I got a touch of arachnophobia, and those things kick it off. I was talking to my friends, and he said, all those questions that are you get transported into the last game that you played, how would you fare? We're if that happened to us right now, we'd be fucked.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, that's what my pitch is about. The show is called Beast Slayer, and it's a children's TV show, probably, not for little kids, for
teenagers,
13-ish, 14, not teenagers, that's a little too old,
Yeah, preteens.
11 to 15, that's my audience I'm going for. Maybe, 10, I don't know. Whenever I was watching these kind of cartoons is what I'm going for.
Yeah. Whenever we were watching
Adventure Time.
The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Yeah.
I recently watched some clips of that show online. That show is messed up.
Grim Adventures, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of body horror in it that you're you get away with this for little kids?
Hey, a lot of those cartoons are amazing.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All those kids cartoons are great.
And the next great kids cartoon is called Beast Slayer.
Beast Slayer, yes. That's the name of the game they get stuck in. I was going for just a stupid name because I guess I'll intro it like this. I'll start with the characters. So we start off with 3 friends. Well, two are siblings. So, friends, but they're not they also partly hate each other.
Forced
siblings.
friends.
The youngest sibling, her name is Millie Graves. She's 12. She's younger and she likes hanging out with her older brother. She's the kind of like younger sister that's like obsessed with her brother and wants to do everything with him. And she's kind of tomboyish because of that. Her brother's name is Robert Graves, or Billy. He's 15, and he's nice to his sister. He's a very passionate person, funny in a sort of dramatic, yelling kind of way. He gets very overly excited, but he's very nice kid, good kid.
Nice kid, good kid. Sound like his guidance counselor.
Yep, and his friend is Sig Sheeler from school. He's 15 as well. As I said, he's Billy's school friend. He's quieter and more reserved than Billy, so kind of like an opposite to him. And he gets kind of frustrated with Billy's sort of over-passionate...
his antics.
Yeah.
His silly Billy boy antics.
Sig's kind of a nerd. He's smart and very pessimistic.
Like, as all 15-year-olds are.
Yes.
I feel that's the standard for 15-year-olds. Do you remember what I was like when I was 15?
Not really.
Me neither.
Probably similar to now, except more annoying and probably less creative.
Dumber. 100%.
That's what I was going for. I was trying to be nicer with the phrasing, but whatever.
Nah, I was dumber.
Anyway, the trio finds an old arcade... arcade room, arcade-like place?
Like an arcade. It's just an arcade, isn't it?
Arcade, yeah, it's just an arcade. That's right. An old arcade place. They're skipping school and they go to an old arcade, abandoned arcade, right? It's got the tarps over the machines. And they're going in, they're pulling them off, pulling the tarps off, plugging the machines in. They're playing the games, and they find in the corner a big, thick tarp over a huge machine. They pull it off, and it's Beast Slayer. It looks like the coolest game ever. As a kid, you'd look at this and there'd be a line in front of it. It's like the Star Wars arcade games in arcades, There'd be a freaking line, and you'd pay like $2 to play it, and you'd get 10 seconds before you get blown up by an AT-AT, and then you gotta go to the back of the line.
Yeah, this shit was crazy. Or like that Terminator one that they would have in every bar. Or not bar, but like every place, and it had like a whole ass Terminator gun.
Yeah, and you pull out the huge gun, costs like $1 to play again. Oh, as soon as you had to step on the pedals to like dodge and stuff.
I'm imagining that the Beast Slayer arcade cabinet has just like every peripheral. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but it's got like, they've got a gun and they've got like a motorcycle thing. Yeah. And they've got like the gear changers that car games have.
Totally unnecessary.
Yeah, and you're like, whoa, this is cool.
And most importantly, they've got big, like, VR-looking helmet things that you put on.
Yeah.
So they put on the helmet things, they're like, let's play, and they click start. Boom. They get transported in the game. After 2 messages that show up. So first on the screen, it says, you have 1 life to win. And you have, Robert's like, God, this is going to be so much fun. Woo. And then it says, winning is freedom. And they're like, woo, because, they're just thinking, like, whatever,
like,
whatever the hell that means.
Oh, it's going to be,
it's
if we win,
game speak.
Yeah, we're going to get the money back that we put into the game if we win.
Yeah, so maybe, yeah.
Something dumb like that a 12-year-old would come up with.
So they're excited because there's cool music playing, then boom, they get zapped into the game. And so it's a crazy RPG, like, fighting, very difficult Dark Souls-y game.
Yeah.
Monster fighting game. And they show up and they're at a temple. They walk out into this huge grassland area and they're like, whoa, like, because they're in the game, it's kind of freaky to them, right? So that's first thing. Start off, that's weird. And they're confused and they want answers. And they see a town across a field. And, like, well, I guess we'll go to the town and try to figure out what's happening. And their kids are kind of panicking a little bit, but Billy is kind of, like, Sig is the voice of concern in this situation, and Billy's like, this is awesome! I've always wanted to be in a video game! This is, like, the greatest thing ever! And so he's loving it, and Millie just sort of goes along with whatever her brother says, right? So she's excited just like, because her brother's excited.
Yeah, she's like following him. He's like, this is how I'm imagining it. he's like running after some like weird fantasy like farm animal. It's like a hybrid between like a chicken and like a crab or something. And then, you know, he's like, this is fucking cool as shit. He's not cursing, obviously,
because it's a kid show. Yeah.
It's a kid show. This is totally radical, bro. He's, you know, running up. He's chasing these chickens, right? Millie is chasing him because she's like, yeah, brother, yeah. And Sid is standing back like, this is a really weird video game. Should we like, hey,
this is so real,
maybe you guys are going really far. Is there invisible walls? Like, you know?
Yeah, he's like concerned with the reality.
Yeah. Don't hit an invisible wall.
So the town they want to get to is actually across the large field that's full of wolves.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have to cross the field. And in this, you get to experience their powers and the classes they picked for the first time. So Millie is a sorcerer in a long wizard robe, and she's got a cool staff. But it's the beginning of the game, so it's like a wooden staff, and, you know, the robes are kind of dingy.
Would it be funny if she's short, so the robes are just, like, dragging behind her?
Yeah, that would be nice. Let's do that. Yeah. It's like, well too big for her.
Mm-hmm.
Robert is the heavy of the group. He's a warrior with a big shield and a battle axe. Like, a huge battle axe that, like, obviously you couldn't hold in real life with one hand.
Yeah.
Because it's a video game, it lets you do it. But again, it's like, you know, it's the beginning of the game, so it's like a big wooden shield. The battle axe is rusty. His armor isn't very cool, you know.
Yeah,
and
there's no
Sig,
like skulls or anything.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's basic stuff.
Yeah.
And Sig is an archer with 2 curved short swords, and he's got like a cloak on, like a hood.
So he's like an assassin, rogue kind of guy. He's got like the 2, you know, scimitars, and like I am imagining he had a bow. You know?
That's an archer. Yeah.
You know, but how big of a bow? Is it a long bow? Is it a little bow? Is it
a big bow? Long bow.
Yeah. Maybe he should be.
It could be upgraded over time. It could be like insanely huge later on. A huge, great bow. It's like the size of him. But he can, you know, because it's a video game, you can hold it and shoot it easy.
Yeah. He could be like the gadget guy.
I was thinking he'd kind of be like the smart one of the group, where when they get into boss fights, he would like apply like oils to all their swords that like, you know, it's like, oh, this does fire damage to this boss, and this boss is weak to fire. I know this because I did a side quest earlier that told me this. Like, he's that kind of guy.
And the entire time, Robert was just chasing a chicken. You know, he was doing a side quest as well, but it was like chase the greased up pig.
Yeah, it's like, you know, something silly. And maybe he's also, maybe he's kind of like the alchemist of the group, Sig. He's like brewing potions and stuff, and they all taste really bad, and Billy like never wants to drink them because they're like, these taste awful. It tastes like cough syrup. He's like, we're gonna die if you don't drink this. Don't you understand? At the beginning of the game, it said you die, which is what they're gonna learn when they go into town, actually.
Yeah.
So they rush into the other side of the plains, you know, killing the wolves as they go, testing out their powers. It's pretty cool. And they barely make it over because it's a tough fight, but they had sort of fun, so it's like
yeah.
They don't know yet that they die, so they're not too worried. And so they get there, and the village, it's not NPCs, it's other people that have been trapped in this game from years ago. So you have people from like the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and like early 2000s all over this place that make up this whole village. And Millie, Billy, and Sig are the first people that come in a long time, so they're like surprised to see them and also sad because they're like, you're trapped here too with us.
Yeah.
And they explain that to free not only themselves but everyone from the game, someone has to beat all 7 major bosses. So there's 7 big bosses in the game, which means we got a lot of seasons of this show. You know, I'm thinking 2 bosses a season. That's what I'm thinking. Except the final season's just the last boss.
Yeah, and you know, we'll build it up. The last boss will be like it'll be a surprise. It'll be the creator of the game.
I can't do that. So many people have done that.
Gary Gygax. Yeah, it can't be the creator of the game. This isn't Tron.
People do that all the time. Tron did it. Another one did it. I know there's another one that did it.
Spy Kids 3 did it.
Oh, yeah, they did. I can't do that, and I didn't do that. Because I have all the bosses lined up.
Okay.
And they tell them, the people in the town, and this is a pretty big town. It's not a city, but it's like kind of metropolis-ish. You know, this is a fantasy world, so there's no skyscrapers or anything. But it's a pretty robust town. There's big farms and everything. You could live here for forever. There's families.
Yeah. Maybe it's like we have one guy who is like, he got into the game in like the 60s, and his wife got into the game in the 90s, and they got married, and they have like a kid, but all the kids they have are just video game NPCs. I think that would be funny if like the adults, you know, the people in the game can make a child, but the child they make is just a video game NPC, and they just come out fully formed as like a grown man, and they're just like they've got a big gold exclamation point above their head. They're like,
it's like having a dog.
Yeah,
but it's like a baby.
It's a baby, or
and
a
it
baby
does.
man.
It's because it's a game. It doesn't grow up. They just have a baby.
Yeah, they have a baby that gives out side quests.
Yeah, that baby. Yeah. The baby pops out of the womb and it's like, I need you to collect 10 eggs.
And it's like, oh, come on, man. She just gave birth. She's tired. She's like, actually, I just drank this potion. I feel fine. You guys want to go for a run?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
So we got, some silly stuff like that. And the group decides, mainly Billy. Billy's like, we've got to defeat all these bosses. Mainly because he wants to play the game. That seems to be his major motivation, is because it's fun to him. Millie, it's her older brother, so she's like, whatever. Whatever he says, I'm up for. And Stig, he's the reluctant one. That's like, I mean, we could die here. I don't want to die. That's awful. But he goes along because he wants to get free. And his motivation is because, he wants to get out of there.
Yeah, maybe he's got like a really important birthday party or some shit. Something dumb kid stuff.
I can't die in here. I've got to get to track practice tomorrow. The coach is gonna kick me out.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Or he's got, a math test. Or he's got
I forgot he's a nerd, so it's probably like a test tomorrow.
Yeah, but also nerds do track. Track is the nerdiest sport, I'll say it. Besides, like, chess, I guess.
Probably is. And to help build into the narrative a bit, I want to make it either clear in the pilot episode before they get in there, or throughout the show, that Billy really didn't like his life outside of the video game.
Oh.
Like, he feels like it's, not exciting. Maybe he doesn't have a lot of friends besides Sig.
And his sister.
Yeah, it's like all he's really got.
Yeah.
But through this, he realizes that that's all he needs.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, the bosses. That's what you really care about, I guess.
I care about a lot of things, but yes, I also care about the bosses. Tell me about the bosses.
So the first boss is a super wolf with 3 heads. So imagine Hydra, but it's a wolf.
Yeah.
That shoots frost out of its mouth. Like dragons shoot fire, but like it's 3 heads shooting frost mist.
Yeah, and maybe its tail is a mace.
A mace? Oh, a mace.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm trying to design
I thought you meant like mace, like the spray. I was like, what?
That would be good though. Also, his
silly.
tail, just the end of it, shot out mace. But I'm trying to design these like
that.
Dark
Okay,
Souls
actually,
bosses.
that's hilarious. It should be a mace tail that sprays mace, and it can hit Billy. And he's like, "Oh my god, my eyes! Is that mace?" No, it's Sig's like, "No, it's a mace." No, I mean like there's mace in my eyes. I think it's spraying mace at me.
Like what? And then
he gets sprayed. He's like, "Oh my god, it's mace!"
Where did he get mace? Is that magic mace? No, it's just regular mace. It's bear mace. It's bad. Ow. Yeah.
And Millie summons like a pair of goggles or something, and she's fine. And Sig and him are like rubbing their eyes.
Idiots.
Before the fight, maybe this is where Sig first shows off his talent for, being the smart guy, and he has them drink, like, frost negation potions, and he heats their weapons with, like, I don't know, butter. Hot butter.
Yeah, like video game butter.
Video game butter. That's what we should call it. The, like the stuff you apply to your weapon. It's not oil or something else. It's just butter.
It's video game butter.
Like this is fire butter, and he like rubs it on.
Yeah.
The weapon.
And then like we cut to, Robert. That's his name, right? Robert.
Or Billy.
Billy. It's just like going through Sid's bag, just like chewing on a stick of butter. It's like, it's a fire-resistant butter. It's gonna make me fire-resistant. Just eats an entire stick of butter and vomits. It's like, oh.
That was the Sig's like, that butter is the kind you put on your weapon, okay? Now you do fire damage. He's like, I do fire damage? And he starts punching the wolf, and it's like lighting it on fire. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, it would be good. And then, he gets whacked by the mace tail. And it's like, maybe...
That's when we have the mace joke.
Maybe a sword would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so that boss is in the starting region, which is the forests, town, and grasslands area.
Yeah.
And after they beat that, it opens a door, and it leads to the next region. So every boss fight, when it ends, it opens a door that lets you get into the next region.
Yeah.
The next region, and you can go back. So they can go back to the starting town. Maybe they will. I don't really have an idea of what for. Maybe to ask questions, because maybe they'll meet someone in the starting town that explains everything to them, like some old man.
Yeah,
or like
some old man.
Maybe that family that we were talking about, the guy from the 80s, whose wife is from the 70s, or vice versa.
Or we could do like an opener. We could do like a cold open where we just like it is the 80s, and we just have like a little kid. It's just like wandering, and he goes into the arcade after dark, and he takes the tarp off of the what was the name of it? Beast Fighter?
Beast Slayer.
Beast Slayer. Beast Fighter. Like a little kid goes in at like after dark, takes the tarp off of Beast Slayer, and then we just like cut out to the outside of the arcade, and we just see like a flash of purple light, and then time passes, we stay on the arcade, 30 years passes, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then that kid can be the old man, because he's wearing the same shirt, but it's
the same shirt, but it's all stretched and torn, it has holes in it.
Yeah, and it's like really small. He's like, I got a big gut, because he keeps eating the fire butter.
Loves that fire butter. The next region is an Arctic, cold, snowy region. We're going to introduce like some cold stuff, and they got to wear like, bigger, heavier clothes, which they buy in the next town, which is a little smaller. You're going to notice this throughout. Every town gets smaller in every region we get to. In this region, the boss is a giant ice worm that's on a frozen lake. So in some sci-fi and fantasy stuff, we have sandworms that like pop out of the sand, and they eat you and stuff, and they have a big, clawy mouth that has all those teeth and stuff.
Yeah, the big
same thing,
big
except it's
mouth.
Ice in the water.
Yeah,
like
that
water,
makes more
it pops
sense.
up out of the frozen depths and like comes down at you, which is it's destroying the land as it does that. So you have to kill the thing quickly before all
the land you can. Yeah, and that always makes more sense than a sandworm, because like the sandworm's getting sand in its mouth, isn't it? So it's just like every couple of days, does the sandworm just like vomit a bunch of sand back up? Because you could eat ice. So if a ice worm is just like and sucking in a bunch of ice,
it can close its mouth when it's under the sand.
But they don't. They're always like, I'm chasing a guy. I'm chasing the Mandalorian. I got my big mouth open.
Yep. Okay.
Or I'm chasing Timothy Chalamet. I got my big mouth open.
Mm-hmm.
Always doing that. Yeah.
It's scary when you got the mouth open.
It does. That is true.
All right, so they kill that.
Maybe I'm just trying to think of a fun way that they could kill it. Maybe Robert. I keep wanting to call him Bobby. I don't know why.
Bobby.
Billy. He's like, I have an idea. He eats like 6 fire butters just at once.
Yeah.
And then he like jumps inside of the worm and melts it from the inside.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, and then, it just shrivels down into the, like, he gets coughed up, and then the worm shrivels down into, like, this little guy. And, maybe when the worm's a little guy, he can talk. So they just, like, put him in a box and keep him in their bag.
Little jar, and he's in their bag.
Yeah.
He becomes like a side companion,
Yeah.
They can explain parts of the world to them. That's cool, because he can help them understand, like, different bosses and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
I think it would be cool
Call
if
him Selly.
Yeah, Selly. Because he's in a little cell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There you go. I do like the image of Billy just taking, like, a bunch of butter. Just 6 sticks of butter. And just, like... and just, like, eating them all, like, at once. And you're just like, oh, he's having such a bad time.
Maybe he gets through the first 3 pretty easily, because he's like, I love butter!
Yeah.
And then he chugs the first 3, he's like, oh, the fourth one, he's like,
And then, he gets spat up by the worm, and he's like,
He starts vomiting.
I'm not gonna eat any more fire butter.
Never again. And as soon as they open the door to the next, he's like, it makes me, too hot inside. I just am burning up. God. I'm glad we're in a cold region, because it helps cool me down. They open up the door, because the next region is the fire region.
And he's like, no. Do you have any frost butter? I'm like, no. Frost butter? What are you, stupid? Of course not. That's ridiculous. Frost butter. How would you even make frost butter? He just calls him an idiot.
And then the boss fight, they have frost butter.
Yeah, and then they're
like, put this on your sword. And he's like, what is it? Frost butter. I thought you said I wasn't going to let you eat it. We don't have a lot of it, okay? There's not a lot.
We're just eating it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. Let's do the fight.
Anyway, the next fight is a lava dragon with no wings. And the region is a fiery volcano surrounded by a jungle. And every day, the jungle is destroyed by the volcano, and the jungle regrows. So at let's say 8 p.m. every night, volcano erupts. And throughout the day, up to 8 p.m., the jungle regrows to its full height, and it reaches its peak at 8 p.m., and then volcano erupts.
That's a cool idea. I like that.
Thanks.
Like Outer Worlds, or Outer Wilds.
Yeah, kind of, because it's constantly recycling the environment in such a short amount of time.
Maybe there's I don't know if you have a town idea.
I do.
Ooh, but maybe they're all living in like the tops of trees.
I had that idea, but then the trees would get destroyed by the flames.
They've
so that
got
was
big
the problem.
parachutes.
Yeah. So that's why I have a town that's going to stick around for a little bit. So the other ones, they only got half the season, right? This one's going to stick around for a bit. This is an underground town that's inside the mountain. So it's like carved inside big cave system. And this has got to be a cool town that you like, because we're getting a lot of time in this town. Because you have this half the season where they fight the dragon, and then the next half of the season is an underground region with a river and connects to that cave town from earlier. So it's a whole... So after they defeat the dragon in the volcano, it opens a door into the mountain, which is where the underground whole region is. It's a huge underground area that's like as big as an above ground area is, because it's so like the space between the ground and the ceiling is
so vast.
It's so vast. It's miles up. So
yeah,
maybe there's like a mystical elevator down, and then they unlock a mystical elevator into the town, like an ancient one. And townspeople are like, whoa, that's crazy. So now we can like get to the underground area without fighting the boss.
But that's also very Dark Souls. I like that idea. Because like in the first area, there's only one boss. In the second area, there's maybe one boss and one like mini boss sort of thing. And then the third area is like, once you beat one boss, you get full access to another boss in that same area.
Yeah.
Which I like that. That's cool.
I wasn't really thinking like that, I guess. I was more thinking like I want to keep a town around for a bit longer. because I'm constantly going through these towns, which means tons of side characters.
And tons of people using this video game and like being transported into this world and not being noticed.
And I want this town's kind of like one of the last towns, so it's important for it to hang around and let you get more connected to these people for a bit longer.
Yeah, maybe we say that the arcade used to be right next to an orphanarium. Where they keep orphanages.
Orphanarium. I like that word, orphanarium.
It's from Futurama.
Oh, so you stole it.
I stole it. I that's the word I use for orphanage. But it'd be funny if you were like, yeah, we all came from the orphanage next door. Nobody noticed.
All the people in the town?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because how else would you figure that all these people went missing? Unless it's also a time.
I'm telling you, these side characters got to be top notch because we're hanging out with them for a while. So I don't want people complaining like, "Oh God, I hate the third town in this show. The first two were really cool, and then the third town, I mean, they hung out with them for so long and they weren't any good. So it's got to be good."
Yeah.
Anyway, underground boss is a giant spirit-winged pterodactyl that shoots exploding balls of light.
Maybe it's stolen its wings from the wingless dragon.
Oh, that would be cool. So it's got like the dragon wings?
Yeah, but like its body is like ethereal and like ghostly, and the wings are the only part of it that are actually physical.
Material. Yeah, okay. I like that a lot. That's pretty cool.
And you're like, yeah, they don't like each other. The worm guy can be like, yeah, they really don't like each other. Every time we all get together for like a family reunion, they're just at each other's throats the whole night. It's ridiculous. I think they should just screw and get it over with, but you know, that's not PC.
This is a kid's show.
The worm should be like a weird PC hating comedian.
It's
like
Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, like Dave Chappelle, but not funny. Yeah, we can get. Who should we get to play him?
You.
Louis C.K. Oh.
No, we can't have someone bad. This is a kid show. It's got to be someone reputable.
Joe Rogan. He'll do it.
Someone very reputable.
He's not very.
Someone with no reputation, probably. That's the safest bet for a kid show.
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland plays the worm.
Yeah.
Okay. Tom Holland's our worm. Let's move on. So, the next fight is they're still in this underground region. There's another boss in the underground region. But they enter into like a larger underground area that's like an old ruined city. Not like a city that people lived in that are like players. It's like an NPC destroyed city. And it clearly connects to a city that's above it. It's like the under part of a city.
Yeah.
And in this awful area, they come into a boss fight where they have to fight themselves. So they enter in and the game copies all three of them and they have to fight themselves. And we have a cool thing where it's like, you know, Sig fights Billy. You know, they all fight themselves at first. But that doesn't work because that's the way it always happens. And Sig is quickly like, what? But this is clearly, we've watched movies. We know this doesn't work, okay? Billy, you fight my guy. I'll fight your guy. And then we'll triple team Millie's character because she largely has heal spells. So their fight's kind of wimpy. So they're both in a corner, like using like their little attack spells, then healing themselves.
Yeah.
Fighting.
They're both like poking each other with the backs of their staffs.
Yeah, and then healing immediately.
Yeah. I'm imagining the third town as being kind of like a mixture between that, you know, that Native American village that was built into the into the plateaus in like New Mexico. Don't know the name of it.
Mesa Verde.
Yeah, I'm thinking of it as kind of like a mixture between Mesa Verde and like a James Bond layer, because it's built into a volcano. So maybe the guy who was like first thought to build the town there, he wrote like one of the James Bond movies. We can just say that.
Maybe. That'd be funny. But it's a lot bigger than like Mesa Verde.
Yeah.
I'd say.
It's
like a decent sized
whole
town. It's close to the side. It's bigger than the second town, but it's smaller than the first. Because this is where like a lot of people got to and got stuck. A lot of people got stuck on the third fight.
Yeah.
Or they didn't want to go farther because everyone says you never get past the fifth boss, and the cave area leads you to the fourth boss. And to the fifth boss, so people are scared to go to the fifth boss, which is fighting yourself.
Yeah.
Now, after they beat themselves, it's always assumed that the reason that no one gets past the fifth boss is because they all lose. It's not because that. It's because this is a point of no return in the game. You can't go back anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
So they get through, and they no longer can go back to their earlier towns. And they open up into a huge golden region, like the grass is golden. And it parallels the starter area. It looks very similar. And there's actually a pretty big town there. This is everyone that's gotten past this area because they beat themselves, which isn't that hard, but it's difficult. It's not like as hard as the earlier bosses. So it's something you can do. It's just that it's point of no return, is you're stuck at this point.
Yeah.
And they're all stuck there, getting ready for, the sixth boss, and because the sixth boss is very difficult. It's a massive golden knight on a horse.
Oh,
like huge, like the size of a 4-story building.
Ooh, that is huge.
And this is when I wrote the show gets canceled.
That would be good.
Right when we get into this region, this is when the show gets canceled, and after 10 years, we get to come back because the network took it back on, and all the kids, who watched this in their childhood thought, like, oh, I missed that show, I want it to come back. Maybe not 10 years, maybe like 4 or 5. I don't know. Anyway.
Either 4 or 5 years or 25 years.
25 years. We got all the same voice actors back. They're a little older, but they can still do those voices, so
yeah.
It's okay.
We just have to get an entire different person to do the little girl's voice.
Yeah, probably. She probably can't do it anymore.
Yeah. She just sounds
I don't know. Because, I don't know, female voice actors tend to have a easier time at doing, like, young voices than male voice actors.
That is true.
Like, there's always a female playing young boys and young male voice characters.
Yeah, like maybe she's been smoking.
Timmy Turner.
Tara Reid, isn't it? No, that's not her
Simpson.
name. Tara Strong, that's her name. Tara Reid's a different person.
Anyway, the final boss after the golden horse guy is a giant golden minotaur with 2 battle axes that's on the cover of the game.
Oh, yeah.
So from the very beginning, you're going to see Beast Slayer, and it's going to be this golden minotaur with 2 battle axes. Maybe it's got 4 arms, maybe it has 4 battle axes.
Maybe it's got 2 battle axes and 2 of its arms, and like the other arms have got like flame spells and like an ice spell or some shit.
Yeah. And this is the real tough boss fight. This is where it gets crazy. And his region is a long dungeon that goes through temples and castles. So after you kill the Golden Knight, he's guarding a big door, and you go in, and it's like a long dungeon that goes through, big castle rooms, like, throne rooms and stuff like that, and big halls and all this crazy stuff. And then you get to a big open battle arena with the Golden Minotaur from the cover. Now, you've been thinking the whole time, Jake. How are you gonna end this? Well, I didn't really know. Is the answer.
That's
my favorite choice is kind of like a annoying option for the audience.
Maybe, yeah.
The audience isn't gonna like this if I do this. But in the final boss battle, Billy dies, and it's sad. Billy's dead. Yeah. Millie's crying because that's her brother. Over the series, probably Millie has developed to be, more independent, not constantly just following whatever her brother says.
Yeah, she's
Sig
realized
really
that
sad.
maybe he doesn't make the best choices.
Well, she maybe that's She doesn't always make the best choices, and she's becoming more independent herself as well.
Yeah.
Because she was 12. She starts off as 12.
And now she's
no
like
life
30.
experience. No, I mean they get through this in like less than a year.
Yeah.
So she's still very young. It's just that she's gone through so many life experiences in this thing. And experienced her brother make a lot of poor choices or ridiculous choices.
Yeah.
And also seen Sig make bad choices and her brother be right. So it's a big, good mix. And, she makes her own choices, obviously. That works out well sometimes. It doesn't other times. So, it develops her a bit more.
She can kill one of the bosses.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe that's how you kill the ethereal winged ghost boss that has
weak
the
to magic. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, well, she can be like, in order to kill it, you have to cast healing spells on it. Like they can't deal any damage to it with like swords and arrows and shit.
Oh, and maybe the healing spells they have to hit like its ethereal form.
Yeah.
And it like heals it into a physical being, and then they can hit it.
Yeah.
That would.
And
be
she'll be like, "I'm the best.
Best round.
I'm the best."
Anyway, so Billy dies. They beat the game and they get out.
Yeah.
And they're crying. Millie's crying, and behind them, Billy goes, "Oh guys, what's up? What's wrong?" And he has like ice cream. "I brought you ice cream, Millie. Are you okay?" He's like comforting his sister. She's like, "You're alive? What?" He's like, "Oh yeah, no, it just popped me out. Once I died."
Wow.
Said you lost and kicked me out of the game.
Yeah.
He's like, what? If you die, you just come out? And he's like, "Yeah, I tried to hop back in, but it says I only have one life, so you can only play the game one time."
That would be
And
good.
they're like, "That's what that means." That's the whole show. That's how it ends.
That would be good. I like that.
They just completely were lied to from the beginning. Everyone thinks that you only have one life, but it just means you can only play the game once.
Yeah. And there's just hundreds of people who have spent decades of their life living in this video game world.
And all they had to do was die.
And they just had to die. And I'm thinking for the golden horse boss, I like that ending a lot. For the golden man on a horseback boss, it should be like kind of like an MMO raid. Because they've got basically all of the heroes, right?
Oh, so they all charge
village.
in. Maybe they're all people are dying in there too.
Yeah. Like it's like 1,000 little like mice crawling all over this, huge guy, and they hurt it enough that they're able to access the door, but only our trio is able to make it through, and they're like, "Go, be the saviors that we never could be, destroy the final boss and become the beast slayer.
Free us all."
Yeah.
That kind of thing, yeah.
That's sort of meme. And then they jump through the portal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was thinking for a post-credit scene, Millie goes back into the game through New Game Plus, because she beat the game.
Yeah.
And she tells everyone, and it's just a montage in the credits. There's no words. It's just like her going back to the game with all of her stuff. She clicks New Game Plus, and she goes and she tells everyone that they just have to kill themselves.
Yeah.
And so it's just a montage of everyone that they've met through the show killing themselves so they can get back to their world.
Just like in ridiculous fantasy video game ways, they would just like take their enormous battle axe, just like throw it up in the air and try and catch it with their forehead.
People eating a bunch of butter sticks.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a thing throughout the game. It's like never mix fire and frost butter. There's a guy that tells them that, and he grabs like 2 big handfuls of fire and frost butter, and he just eats them both, and explodes. Yeah.
Yeah. Guy's like got flame spells equipped. He just blasts himself in the face.
Yeah. People just suiciding on all the big bosses.
Yeah. That would be good. And then they didn't it's not like Jumanji. They didn't get sent back to their original timeline.
Oh, I was thinking they got sent back to their original
timeline. I feel like they all just have to come out at that time. And
that would suck.
They've all just aged. They've all actually aged in real time.
That would suck. I don't know how we would do that. Maybe if we just do the montage of them going back and we don't explain it. Because this is a kid's show, I don't want to be...
Yeah, you don't want to make it too sad and depressing, the fact that these people have lost however many decades of their life.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a small contingent of the people who don't want to leave. They're like, "No, I'm happy here with my weird little side quest baby. and you know, I've got this giant flaming horse. I couldn't get one of those in Delaware.
Yeah. They just have like someone shaking their head like, no, I'll stay.
No,
Sorry.
I'll be here. This is good.
They got an out anytime they want. They can just kill themselves and they're free.
Yeah, exactly.
In a way, it's like
Inception.
immortality, because if they go back to their normal time, right?
Mhm.
It's like they have 2 lives, essentially, because they can live out hundreds of years in this video game. And if they die of old age in it, or I don't know if you can die of old age, I haven't thought about that, or if they die in this game, they just go back to their childhood life,
and then, like,
which would be
boom.
kind of freaky, you know? You lived 120 years in a video game, and then you come back out and you're 13.
And you know how to, like, blacksmith. You suddenly have all the skills necessary to be like the world's greatest blacksmith because you've been blacksmithing for 120 years.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, what is this infernal contraption? Like, that's a light switch. Ah, I do not appreciate this unnatural sunlight.
That'd be another good post-credit scene we could have. Like, one of the older guys in the show who has, like, this really deep and gravelly and maybe it's, well, not gravelly, but, like, you know, deep and mystical voice. And he goes back to a 13-year-old, and he's still speaking like he did, but he's a little lower now. And he's like, Mom, I am the king of the forthright. I will not be tested. And she's like, you're being a really bad son. Come on. Like, what happened? You went to the arcade one time, and now it's just...
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to you. Played that game way too much. He's like, you have no idea.
Yeah, and then he's like, shut up, Mom. And then she
Like,
makes
shut
him
up,
eat him.
Mom. She's like, you're grounded.
That would never happen if I was the mayor of this village. If I was still the mayor of the... You know, I killed a frost giant all by myself one time. Sure you did, sweetie. Now go up to your room. This sucks. He just goes up the stairs and like... Oh. Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I got.
I like it. I think it would be good. Now, who are we casting ourselves as?
I already casted you. Remember, you're the little worm guy.
I'm the little worm boy.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Wormy.
Mr. Wormy.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you want to be? Let's say you are... Let's say you're a corpse that is, like, the first thing they see is, like, a skeleton that's been hung up on a wall. And it's, like, it tells them riddles about the universe. And, like, that's you.
Riddles.
But they're, like, ridiculous and stupid. Like, what has 3 legs and cannot stand to be alone? What? A very lonely dog with 3 legs. You're like, that's not a very good...
Boom.
That's not a very good riddle. Yeah. But I would totally watch Beast Slayer. That sounds fun.
Okay, can I expand on that a bit? Maybe this is a reoccurring skelly guy that blocks bridges and you have to answer a riddle to get across.
Yeah.
And they get used to it over time where they're like, all the riddles are just like the really stupid answer. You just have to say, like, you know, a dog with 3 legs that's lonely.
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah, and there's like, correct. What is your favorite color? Yellow. No, blue! Ah! And then, you know, somebody explodes.
Classic Monty Python, yeah.
Classic. But yeah, and I'm imagining the opening title sequence would be like as 1980s, you know, as possible, with tons of synths and like Beast Slayer.
Yeah, I'm picturing it like He-Man, you know, that kind of intro.
Yeah, and then like the golden axes go shing, and they cross across each other, and then they fall back, and then the name
it writes out
in.
Beast Slayer.
Yeah, and you know, a dragon. You know, just the most stereotypical badass stuff that you could do. But yeah, that sounds really fun. I totally watch that. Last question before I send us out of here. What song do you want to play at the ending credits? I'm trying to think
Ocean
of-
Man. I don't know the words. I just know it's
I'm
Ocean Man.
I'm gonna
Ocean
look up-
Man. This is the ending song for SpongeBob the movie, and that's what I want to play.
yeah.
Ocean Man.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Oh, is it Mother's Day? Huh. Well, thank you everyone for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I've been your host, Charles. Along with me as always, been my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, and gunner, Jacob Cloth. If you like what you heard here and you want to hear more, please give us a like, a follow, a subscribe. You can find us on pretty much everywhere that podcasts are. You know, go to the YouTube channel. Go to the Reddit. Yeah, there's a Reddit. You know, do all the stuff. Tell everybody. Tell all of your friends about this podcast and be like, hey, this is a podcast I listen to. It's always a good way to get people to listen to things.
It is.
Yeah.
You tell them. Hold up
Do
big
it.
signs at football games. Like, listen to Very Reasonable Pilots podcast.
Yeah. Get it tattooed
Or
on your
VRP,
face.
maybe. No, actually, they'll think it's one of the other ones. Hold
Yeah.
up Very Reasonable Pilots podcast.
Get it tattooed all over your body.
Maybe not your face. Your shoulder.
Neck down. Your entire body should be the transcript of every Very Reasonable Pilots podcast episode tattooed onto your flesh. That's good.
Yeah, that wouldn't take forever.
Nope, and definitely wouldn't be what a crazy person would do. That's what a sane person would do. Alright, goodbye everyone. We love you. I love you. Jake is so-so.
I'm indifferent about it.
Yeah.
I think I could learn to love you over time if we really fester this relationship.
If you work on yourself.
Yeah,
Jake
you
will.
really need to work on yourself. I mean,
But I love you
that
for
whole
who
like
you are.
talking while you're chewing thing, I can't stand that. You gotta cut that out.
Seriously though, that is annoying.
It disgusts me. You disgust me. Goodbye.
Goodbye, sir.